on. Let's dive into business intelligence today.
Okay, sounds good.
And, with those of you taking those University of Lagos online classes,
Right.
with that big exam next month, this deep dive should really come in handy.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all about taking all that data and learning how to use it to make good decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in your handout, you define business intelligence, or BI, as systems that help management make decisions using data and trends and patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So is it kind of like having a crystal ball for businesses?
Well, it's more like having a really powerful flashlight in a dark room.
Okay.
BI helps you make sense of all the information and figure out which way to go. And it's not just about looking at old data anymore. It's also about getting insights in real time.
So instead of waiting for a report, you can get answers,
Yeah,
immediately.
exactly.
Oh.
Traditional BI was kind of like a giant cargo ship, slow and steady.
Oh, okay.
But modern BI is more like a speedboat. It can zip around and get you answers quickly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So data is the fuel that makes BI work, right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
BI is all about turning data into useful insights.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, we're not talking about just a few spreadsheets anymore. We have so much data these days.
Yeah, the handout mentions megabytes and gigabytes and terabytes.
Right.
And even petabytes. I can't even imagine how much data that is.
Well, 1 petabyte is like the entire Library of Congress twice.
Wow.
So yeah, we definitely live in the age of big data, and it's not just a trendy term. This huge amount of data creates a lot of opportunities, but it also comes with some challenges.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
But for someone who's trying to pass their exams, how does all this big data relate to them?
Well, whether you're studying for your business intelligence exam, writing a research paper, or even just trying to decide where to eat lunch, understanding data is important.
Okay.
BI teaches you how to find the right information and use it to draw good conclusions.
I see.
And those are skills that can help you in anything you do.
So BI is more than just a business tool. It's like a life skill.
Exactly. It's about thinking about everything in terms of data.
Okay.
And to do that, we need to understand how BI works.
Mm-hmm.
Your handout talks about 4 main parts of a BI solution:
Okay.
the data itself, the data warehouse,
Uh-huh.
data access and analytics,
Mm-hmm.
and then data dashboards and reporting.
All right, let's break those down.
Yeah.
The data itself seems straightforward. It's the information we're looking at, right?
Right. It could be sales numbers, customer information, website traffic, anything.
Okay.
It's what we use to start the whole BI process.
And where does all that data go? That's where the data warehouse comes in.
Exactly. The data warehouse is like a big, organized library for all your data.
I see.
It takes data from different places, cleans it up, organizes it, and makes it easy to use.
So like a central hub for all the data.
Exactly.
Okay, and then once we have all this organized data, we get to data access, analytics, and presentation, right?
Right. That's where we use tools and techniques to find patterns in the data and pull out insights.
And your handout mentions things like Oracle BI, IBM Cognos Analytics, SAP Business Objects, and Tableau.
Mm-hmm.
What are those exactly?
Those are some of the most powerful tools in BI.
Oh, okay.
They can help us analyze tons of data, create cool visuals, and build interactive dashboards that can tell a story.
Wow, so they do almost everything.
Pretty much.
So how does all of this relate to those different types of business decisions? Your handout talked about strategic decisions, tactical decisions, and operational decisions.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Let's start with strategic decisions. These are the big decisions that shape the whole direction of an organization,
Okay.
like launching a new product or expanding into a new market.
Those are some big decisions.
Yeah, and that's where BI can be super helpful.
Oh, I see.
You can analyze data to find trends and patterns, understand customer behavior, and make informed decisions about where to invest resources.
Okay, that makes sense. So what about tactical decisions? What are those?
Well, those are more about how to achieve those strategic goals.
Huh?
They're usually made by middle management. Things like marketing plans, setting budgets, or allocating resources.
So strategic decisions are about setting the big goals. Tactical decisions are about figuring out how to get there.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And then we have operational decisions.
Uh-huh.
These are the everyday decisions that keep the business running,
Okay.
like scheduling shifts, managing inventory, or approving customer returns.
I see.
These decisions are usually made by employees on the front lines.
Right.
And even though they might seem small, they can have a big impact on the business.
I get it.
And BI can help here too. You can analyze data to optimize things and make sure those day-to-day decisions support the overall goals.
So BI is used in all different levels of decision making.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. But is there like a process for making these decisions?
There is.
Oh, okay.
Your handout mentions a framework from way back in 1960 by Herbert Simon. It talks about 4 stages: intelligence, design, choice, and implementation.
That sounds pretty logical.
Mm.
So what happens in the intelligence stage?
Well, it starts with gathering information and defining the problem.
Okay.
You need to figure out what's going on, why it's happening, and what the possible outcomes could be.
So you're kind of like a detective in that stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Then you move to the design stage. This is where you come up with possible solutions and think about whether they'll work and start making a plan.
So this is where we get to be creative.
Exactly.
All right. And then what?
Then comes the choice stage. This is when you weigh the good and bad of each option and decide what to do.
That sounds like a tough one.
It can be, but having good data can make it easier.
Okay.
And finally, you have the implementation stage. That's where you put your plan into action.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't end there. You also need to track your results, make adjustments, and learn from what happened.
And information systems help us with all of this, right?
Yeah, they help us gather the information and analyze it and share it. And we also can't forget about the human element. Managers have different roles in making decisions.
Hold on. Are we going to talk more about that?
We could, but we should probably save that for part 2.
Okay. Sounds good.
We can talk about those managerial roles then, and about Mintzberg's classification from the handout.
All right. That sounds like a good place to stop for now.
I agree.
All right. So before the break, we were talking about all the tools you need to make good decisions.
Right. We were just getting to those decision support systems and executive support systems.
Yeah. DSS and ESS. Tell me more about those.
Okay, well, imagine you had your own personal data analyst. That's basically what a DSS is.
Okay.
It's like a system that helps you pull all the data together and analyze it.
Yeah.
And you can use it to try out different scenarios and see what might happen.
So it's not just about looking at numbers. It's about actually using them to make decisions.
Exactly.
Sounds like something a marketing manager would love.
Oh, yeah, definitely. A marketing manager could use it to see which ads are working best. A financial analyst could use it to predict sales or see what happens if they invest in something. And a production manager could use it to figure out how much inventory they need.
Wow. So it can really help anyone who makes decisions.
Pretty much.
Okay. So what about ESS? Are those just fancier versions of DSS?
Not really. ESS are more for the people at the top.
Oh, okay.
The executives who need to make those big strategic decisions.
I see.
It's like a control panel for the whole organization.
So instead of getting lost in all the details,
Yeah.
executives can just see how the whole business is doing.
Yeah, and ESS gives them a dashboard with all the key information so they can see what's going well and what needs attention.
Okay, that makes sense. So if a DSS is like a microscope,
Yeah,
an ESS is more like a satellite view.
exactly. And both of them use visuals to make the information easy to understand.
Right, because a chart or a graph can be a lot easier to understand than a big spreadsheet. So do you have any real-world examples of how BI has helped businesses?
Oh, yeah, tons.
Okay.
I worked with a retail company once that they were having trouble with sales in some areas.
Wow.
They had all this data, but they couldn't figure out what was going on.
Oh, wow.
So they asked me to help them set up a BI system.
And what did you do?
Well, we cleaned up their data and built a data warehouse. And then we used some techniques to find hidden patterns in the data.
Okay.
And it turned out that customers in those areas weren't happy with the online shopping experience.
Interesting.
So the company made some changes to their website and their app, and sales started going up again.
That's a great example.
Yeah, it shows how BI can help you find those hidden insights and use them to make real changes.
And BI can even be used to help people, not just businesses, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I worked with a nonprofit group that was trying to improve access to clean water. They had data on where people lived and where the water sources were, but they didn't know how to use it effectively. So we helped them set up a BI system that showed the data on a map.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that helped them figure out which areas needed the most help, so they were able to bring clean water to thousands of people.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really is.
Okay, so with that big exam coming up next month, is there anything else our listeners should focus on?
Well, it's important to understand the difference between traditional BI and modern BI and how they're used in different situations. Knowing the pros and cons of each is important.
And those 4 components of a BI solution, those are important too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The data warehouse, data access and analytics, and dashboards.
All of those.
Okay.
And don't forget about that decision-making framework.
Right. Intelligence, design, choice, and implementation.
Exactly. Understanding those steps and how they relate to different types of decisions is important.
It's a lot to remember.
It is, but I think our listeners can handle it.
Yeah, they've been asking great questions.
They have. It shows they're really interested in learning about BI.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the basics to some pretty advanced stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I hope our listeners feel like they have a good understanding of BI now.
I hope so, too.
It's really a fascinating field, and there's always more to learn.
Absolutely. The world of data is constantly changing.
So it's important to stay curious and keep learning.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about all the amazing things BI can do,
We have.
but I'm guessing it's not all smooth sailing, right? There must be some challenges, too.
Oh, definitely.
Like what?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is data quality.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. You can't make good decisions if you're working with bad data.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, garbage in, garbage out.
That's a good one.
So how do you make sure the data is good?
Data cleansing and preparation are really important.
Okay.
You have to find and fix any errors, fill in any missing information, and make sure everything is in the right format.
So you got to make sure the data is reliable before you start using it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so what else? What other challenges are there?
Well, with so much data being created all the time, it can be hard to keep up with it all.
Right. It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Exactly.
So how do you handle that?
You need to have the right tools and techniques,
Okay.
systems that can handle huge amounts of data, and algorithms that can find the important stuff.
And you also need people who know what to do with all that data.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You need people who can understand it and interpret it and make good decisions based on it.
So it's not just about the technology.
No, it's about people too.
So for those getting ready for their exam, what are the most important things to remember about BI?
I'd say it's really important to understand the different types of BI, traditional and modern,
Yeah.
and knowing when to use each one.
Okay.
And of course, you need to know those core components of a BI solution.
Right, like the data warehouse and dashboards
Exactly.
and that decision-making framework we talked about.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Intelligence, design, choice, and implementation.
Yep. Understanding those steps is crucial.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
I hope this has given everyone a solid foundation for understanding BI.
You do.
It's a really exciting field,
It is.
and I encourage everyone to keep learning and exploring the power of data.
Absolutely. It's an ever-changing world, so stay curious.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone, and good luck with your exams.
Best of luck.